What's up, everybody? Welcome back. Today we are going to look at a classic drum set interpretation of one of the 40 PAS rudiments, as well as a more modern take on that classic interpretation. And then to finish up, I'm going to show you a few ways that we can take that modern interpretation a few steps further and come up with lots of new ideas. So the rudiment that I'm referring to is the Ratamacue. A Ratamacue, if you haven't heard of it before, is essentially a triplet followed by a quarter note. But the first note of that triplet has a ruff on it. So it has two grace notes prior to the triplet. So you might notice it sounds a lot like the name. I think a lot of the rudiments are quite onomatopoeic. So we have Ratamacue, 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 Ratamacue. So a lot of the bop drummers used to apply this rudiment to the kit. I always tend to think of Philly Joe Jones when I hear this interpretation, but I know a lot of the guys did it. Art Blakey did it, Max Roach did it, and I'm sure plenty of them. I think it was quite a common phrase in the bebop period. So the interpretation that a lot of them did was to move that accent to the bass drum. And the left and right that follow the ruff get moved to the toms. So you have the ruff on the snare, tom, floor tom, bass drum. So on the kit, that's going to sound like this. Now there's a few modern interpretations of this Ratamacue on the drum kit. Recently I saw a masterclass online with Brazilian drummer Ed Ribeiro, and he was talking about Steve Gad and the way that he interpreted this Ratamacue on the drum kit. And he was saying how Steve begins with that bass drum, so that comes before the ruff of the Ratamacue. So he'd start with the bass drum and then play the Ratamacue. Also, he played the Ratamacue with a more open interpretation. So those ruffs, instead of being closed like that, become open to the point where they're almost the same speed as the rest of the Ratamacue, as our hand motion. So instead of, we end up with. So we start with the bass drum and then finish out a measured Ratamacue. So on the kit, that's going to sound like this. Now what I like to do with that Steve Gad interpretation of the Ratamacue around the kit is to basically permutate it in lots of different ways. Because we're playing that Ratamacue open, it essentially becomes just two triplets. So using the Steve Gad one as an example, we have triplet, 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 triplet. And we can of course move that around the drums. But what we can then do is start anywhere within those triplets because they're all evenly spaced. So we can start with the two lefts, with the grace notes, triplet, 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 triplet. We can start with the notes immediately following the grace note, triplet, 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 triplet. And basically you can start it anywhere within that bar. Now, I've found 4 of those in particular that work really well for me. I think they sit really nice under the hands. They create a nice melody on the drums. But go ahead and experiment with all the different placements of it. But let's look at those 4 that personally work really well for me. And what we can then do is start to mix and match those 4 to kind of come up with a whole series of rhythms. So we're not limiting ourselves to that Ratamacue, Ratamacue down the kit, because if we play it down and then invert it, we can come back up, we can play down and then play down in a different part of the bar again, and it gives us lots of different examples. It gives us lots of different options. So I'm going to take those 4 versions that I do, I'm going to play them for you on the kit and put them up on the screen, and I'm going to give them a letter, A, B, C, and D. Once I've played each one as an example, I'll show you how you can string them together. So I'll put them on the screen as A, B, A, C, B, D. I'm not going to go through all of them, but I'll just show you a few examples and show you how we can start to piece those together. So there you go. I hope you have a bit of fun experimenting with that and that gives you some fresh inspiration. As always, drop me a comment down below if you guys have any questions or requests for future videos, and I'll see you next time. Thanks very much.